guys, welcome to another episode of Legacy Speak. And I don't want to call this a comeback, but y'all, I am here in the building. It's been a little minute because I've been dealing with a lot of changes and transitions. One, I got a new job. Yes, I got a new job working in the city of Atlanta. And let's talk about it. Drum roll, please. I moved. Yes, bigger space and closer to my job as well. So I'm super excited, and thank you guys so much for rocking with me through these transitions as well, and I greatly appreciate it. Thank y'all. And even as I thank y'all, it's just been so overwhelming to the point where I found myself questioning whether or not I could even keep going. And not necessarily to say just like to keep going with mental health, but for a while, for a little minute, I felt completely burnt out. I felt like I did not want to do another video for quite some time because I was still trying to get adjusted to my new home, still trying to get adjusted to my new job, and still get acclimated to all the new systems. And as you can imagine, it was just a huge deal. Not to mention, I'm still maintaining my old job as well on every Saturday. I know, how crazy, what am I thinking? But that leads to the discussion today. Let's talk about burnout, what it is and what it looks like. So before we jump right in, I need y'all to hit that subscription button below. That way you can stay up to date on newly released content on a regular basis. So let's dive right in. For those of you who don't know what burnout is, it's just this emotional and physical fatigue. You find yourself not being super productive in your areas of work or even just all aspects of your life overall. And I literally found myself just being like, bruh, I'm over this mental health stuff. I really don't feel like talking about mental health anymore. I had to literally take a step back and find out how I can navigate these new transitions in an effective way. That way I could continue to produce quality content. Whatever industry you're in, you can deal with burnout. Oftentimes, many of us are dealing with these complex lives where we are putting on so many different hats. We find ourselves being a caregiver for somebody, a wife or a husband, a mother or father, or even just that friend. And all the while making sure that you're trying to run your business or trying to make sure that you're doing the utmost that you can in your place of employment, and it can definitely weigh on us. One thing that I really want to highlight is establishing boundaries. And oftentimes when we hear the word boundaries, we're thinking, okay, well, having those interpersonal boundaries or making sure that our relationships with other people don't become too stringent on us. And yes, definitely keep establishing and maintaining those boundaries with other people, but I definitely highly suggest that you find yourself establishing boundaries within your schedule. For me and my personal experience, I started my new job in April, and I immediately found myself trying to make sure that I was staying up to date with all of the rules and policies. I was getting acclimated to a new note system. I had this huge caseload. At the time, we were having some people transition in and some people transition out. And back in April, it was really rough for me. I had a caseload of about 20 individuals, one transitional client, 19 regular residential clients, both men and women. Then I was running a group on Mondays and Wednesdays for the women, and then every other month I was doing a continuing care group on Wednesday evenings. And as you can imagine, that's a lot of notes, a lot of notes. In my previous job, which I still ironically am at on Saturdays, I was working 12-hour shifts, 3 days a week, 4 days off, and that gave me the opportunity to make great content on a consistent basis. I mean, shoot, I was working 3 days a week, knocking it out, had a nursing schedule, and then I would just dedicate the rest of my week to creating content for Legacy Speaks. Now I find myself working not necessarily even like a 9 to 5 because I'm salary at my new job, but I was still working 12s 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And then I was also trying to maintain my PRN position at my previous job, and I was working on Saturdays. So as you can imagine, I am still working 6 days a week in the mental health field. whether it's with face-to-face or also doing admissions and brief crisis stabilization, brief therapy and stuff like that. It's just a lot. And then there was a period of, at the beginning of me transitioning into my new job, I was still trying to work Fridays and work other days as well. So there would be some days where I would literally be working 24 hours with both jobs at hand. Right, crazy. What was I thinking? What was I thinking? That is not good. I needed to sit back and reevaluate my schedule and look to see how can I make this work. So eventually I went to my PRN position, the manager for my PRN position, and decided, hey, I can only do Saturday evenings, because going from my day job to my night job on Fridays, that was not gonna work. I was super cranky. I had no patience with my assessments. I could not focus. I just really wasn't 100%. And even my coworkers was like, girl, you're a little snappy. Girl, you need some sleep. This is not the Sierra we usually know. And it's just like, yeah. And at the end of the day, particularly with me being a therapist, that really goes against my code of ethics. We have a code of ethics that clearly speaks to that. And I know you guys hear me say all the time, you know, you can't pour from an empty cup, but I literally found myself doing that. And the reason why they have that code of ethic in place is that, like, if you find yourself not taking care of yourself as a therapist, you can eventually do more harm to your clients than good. You have to make sure that you're tending to yourself, tending to your needs, being emotionally stable, being mentally stable, being physically stable, because if you don't, then, like I said, you could be doing more harm than good, whether it's intentionally and not intentionally. And if you know that you're stretching yourself past your limit, then that's intentional. Then you're literally putting that client at risk of liability. It was definitely a tough pill to swallow, but I would rather make sure that the well-being of my client remains number one. Well, I don't even want to say number one. I just would rather make sure that the well-being of my client remains a priority by making sure that I was number one. Yeah, there you go. You really have to be mindful in order to make sure that you are establishing those boundaries in your schedule. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to be real with yourself. And most importantly, you have to have increased mindfulness of certain things that you can cut out, certain things that you can work around, certain things that you can, you know, remove. Because oftentimes we have all of these responsibilities. We figure that everything is an obligation, and that's not the case. Everything is not an emergency. Everything is not an obligation. Everything is not a must or a to-do. When you do organize and create your to-do list, make sure you're able to go through each and every one of those items and determine what can be done either today or later. I also became intentional about my breaks. I would make sure that I would take my breaks, walk outside, walk around the block, or I would go to another one of my co-workers' offices and make sure that I'm engaging in conversation, getting outside of the four walls of my office. It's funny that we're even on this subject, because in group supervision this past week, my clinical supervisor, she stopped everything and she made us go around in a circle and say, what are we going to commit to this weekend? What are we going to do in order to make sure that we are getting back to who we are as individuals, not just as clinicians, not just as therapists, but what are we going to do to kind of refresh our souls? And that's exactly what self-care is. A lot of people consider self-care to be like, oh, I gotta go get some mani-pedi, or oh, I'm gonna go shopping, or I'm just gotta go on this extravagant vacation. And self-care can just be as little as, you know what, I'm gonna take a walk around the block, or you know what, I'm gonna lay in bed and sleep in and not have to get up and rush to do the next thing. Or self-care can be like, okay, well, I'm going to go for a drive to like some random city, you know. Self-care can be anything. It can be anything that rejuvenates and refreshes your soul, something that's going to help lift your spirit, something that's going to help get you back in line, so that when you get back to your office or get back to that thing that has had your attention, you'll be a lot more productive. You'll be a lot more in tune with not only yourself but your clients or your other responsibilities. You'll also be a lot more committed. Commitment is very key, because when you're in the space of burnout, sometimes you begin to question your purpose. I know for me, like I said, I was just like, man, I'm sick and tired of talking about mental health. Is this something that I really want to do? I love the field that I'm in, and I know that God has placed this in my heart to help and heal people through counseling. But I was just like, man, I literally eat, sleep, and breathe mental health. And one thing that really helped me was getting outside of myself and talking to somebody. And that somebody can not only be a therapist, it can be your friends, it could be your family members, it could be your clinical supervisor if you are doing supervision, it could be your colleagues, it could be anything. Make sure that you're getting outside of your head. That way you can start exploring other options. And when I mean exploring other options, you don't have to completely forsake what you love. If you love marketing, that doesn't mean that you have to have a career shift. If you love to preach, that doesn't mean that you have to, have a career shift. If you love to do sales and you love working in the clothing store, you don't have to have a career shift. Sometimes we have to take a step back and reevaluate some things. If you're eating, breathing, and doing something repetitiously on a consistent basis, your commitment may wane because you're literally just like tired or overburdened by what you're doing. So don't feel bad. Everybody has these moments. Yes, so that's pretty much it. Y'all, if you are on the verge of burnout, or if you find yourself in a space of currently experiencing burnout, please be sure to take care of yourselves. Whether it's being intentional about your self-care, reevaluating your schedule, or also being able to get outside yourselves and talk to somebody about it. Do whatever it takes to make sure that you are taking care of yourself, okay? Alright, y'all, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and definitely stay connected via Legacy SBKS on everything. Also, hit the comments below with your methods of self-care, okay? Let me know what you do to make sure that you're taking care of self. Also, if you have any instances or experiences with burnout, hit the comments below as well and let us know what you've been experiencing, alright? Thank y'all. Oh, it's been a little minute. Thank y'all. Bye.